Hey Wolverines, I'm Alfredo Diaz.
And I'm Adrian Fraga. Welcome back to the greatest weekly and best fantasy football show on the planet.
And this week's special guest host is Jake Camejo. Jake, what did you think of week 3?
You know, I saw a lot of ups and downs, a lot of bounce back weeks from some players that disappointed last week. So it was just a good overall week for football.
I agree, and we got a lot of it, so definitely rejoicing in it.
Maybe a good week of football for you. I'm still dying on the inside. I am so hurt. I don't know what to think of the season as a Dolphins fan, honestly. What about you, Steelers fan?
It's a similar feeling. I feel like it's just a repeat between the two teams. The terrible O-lines, can't throw deep. It's hurtful.
Yeah.
Definitely. But last week we had our fantasy football takes. I told you guys to start Sam Darnold, and he actually ended up being a pretty good start of the week. And he was only rostered in about 15 to 18% of leagues, and he ended up scoring 2 rushing touchdowns, over 300 passing yards. So I'm decently proud with my start of the week.
And because of that, we are going to reward Fredo for his commemorative efforts, and we are going to give him the fantasy crown. Fantasy King of the Week. He had the best takes. I got outmatched, and I did not perform up to my standards.
I'm sure you'll get at least one this year.
Hopefully.
I'll have one off week. Don't worry.
Bye week?
My bye week. Yeah, I'll have my bye week. All right, Jake, as the guest on the show, we'll have you go first. Who are you picking up off the waiver wire this week?
Yeah, my guy is a very good slot option on offense, and he's only rostered on 30% of leagues. So my pick of the week is Christian Kirk. He's averaged 17 points in the past 3 weeks. His quarterback play with Kyler Murray has been off the charts. Kyler Murray has been one of the best options in fantasy football this whole entire season. Defenses will be focusing on DeAndre Hopkins as an outside receiver, so the slot will get a lot of targets throughout the year. And targets in fantasy football is the most important thing as a receiver. And he's just been killing it. He got 17 points last week, almost 20, and he's been very consistent for fantasy football owners.
I mean, I don't really know that much about consistent. Week 1, he showed out. Week 2, he did okay. And then week 3, he did really good. Christian Kirk is still, it's weird for me with Cardinals receivers. Last week, we were talking about how good Rondale Moore was, and he didn't perform up to Fredo's standards. However, Christian Kirk is a seasoned veteran. He's been in the league for much longer than Rondale Moore has, so I expect him to be better.
And I also think that offense is one that can actually, maintain 3 different fantasy-relevant wide receivers in Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, and Rondale Moore. And I think that those are 2 guys that, as the season goes on, we'll continue to see them battle for that second wide receiver spot. Again, Kyler Murray has been exceptional this entire year, and I think they might have to be very high-scoring offense in order to keep themselves alive in games.
Naturally, they're an air raid offense, so expect the ball to be thrown downfield a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure. That's good.
And Fraga, who are you picking up off the waiver wire this week?
Well, for this week, I'm hopping on the choo-choo. I'm hopping on the Chuba Hubbard train. Now, it's a pretty obvious pick, but it's going to be a very good one. Chuba Hubbard is only rostered in 17.3% of leagues, and now with CMC hurt for an extended time, we have a timetable for it, but it's 3 to 6 weeks. So you're going to have either 3 weeks of an RB2 or 6 weeks of an RB2, and that Panthers scheme for running backs is pure gold. Like, look at Mike Davis last year. When he was thrown into this game when CMC got hurt, he did fantastic. And I expect Chuba to continue.
Yeah, for sure. That Panthers offense is dynamic for all offensive players, receivers, quarterbacks. As you said, Sam Darnold balled out last week. And Chuba Hubbard is going to just try to fill in what he can with the CMC shoes. So I'm sure he'll ball out.
Yeah, and that offense heavily relies on the running back. And though we might not get Christian McCaffrey-type production from Chuba, we saw that in college he could be a workhorse guy, and he could really, sustain an offense by himself. And I think we can look for him to get about, 15 carries a game, 5 targets a game, which could support RB2 value as long as the offense continues to fire on all cylinders.
You say 5 targets. I think more. I think, honestly, because DJ Moore's been balling out, Robbie Anderson's still a very big threat. So Chuba Hubbard is going to be very good out of the backfield receiving-wise. And not only that, I love Chuba Hubbard coming out of college. Like, I wanted the Dolphins to draft him.
I agree. I think that he's a workhorse guy, too. And his role out of the backfield could continue to expand as McCaffrey's out. And targets are key in fantasy. Targets are worth so much more than carries are. And that's why my pickup of the week is Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is only rostered in 16.7% of leagues. This is a guy who's been a wide receiver 3 so far in the season, and he's averaging 8 targets a game. Now, this is in a high-flying Oakland offense, and Las Vegas offense. And these Raiders, they tend to be high-scoring games. They've scored 30 in 2 of their 3 games and 26 in the other. And I think that Hunter Renfrow could have more value as his touchdown luck continues to improve.
Absolutely. Derek Carr is on a mission this year, and Hunter Renfrow is going to be right there beside him, and of course Darren Waller. But Hunter Renfrow is going to still be very good. Not only that, Hunter Renfrow did that while playing against a very good Dolphins secondary, and it's not just Xavier Howard, Byron Jones. It's pretty deep. We also got Nick Needham, Jason McCourty, Javon Holland, and so on.
Yeah, that Dolphins defense was pretty good, even though we didn't win. We had to win, though. It was still a good effort overall. But, yeah, Hunter Renfrow is going to get a ton of targets. You said Derek Carr has been balling out the past few weeks. He's playing like his job is on the line, which it kind of is. And for now, looks like it's secured because when you ball out this good, it's pretty good. So expect a lot of production from Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere deep down, I still think that Hunter Renfrow is a receiver at Clemson because I feel like he was there for 7 years, and he was that trusty guy out of the slot that they would look for in crucial situations, and I think he can be that again this year. He's got a knack for getting open, and he's pretty good after the catch for someone, who didn't run the 4.4 40 times. So
He's especially, shifty,
He's
He's
sneakily
slippery.
athletic.
He's slippery.
He's
Yeah.
sneakily athletic. He's in that Cole Beasley type of build that you don't think they're going to run for that first down, and they end up do. So, well, Jake, who are you starting across all formats this week?
My start of the week is Tyler Boyd. He, as I said before, volume in fantasy football is the most important thing. And T. Higgins just got hurt on this Bengals offense, so he's going to get a ton more targets now. And then he's gotten 15 targets in the last 2 weeks, actually. So then when he's in the slot, which he's a very reliable slot receiver, he's going to get a ton of targets coming out the slot, and he plays a weak Jacksonville defense that just traded away C.J. Henderson, who was a good corner. He's still in his young years, but he's still a good corner. And when you play a weak Jacksonville defense like this, Joe Burrow can play very good, and Jamar Chase, some defense is going to key on him now. He's been playing really good too. So Tyler Boyd is going to I think he's going to have a boom week this week, 20 points maybe. He's a good flex option, or maybe even a wide receiver too.
I've always thought of Tyler Boyd as a really solid receiver, especially in the slot. He's always been a personal favorite of mine across fantasy past few years, especially last year. Excuse me. But now with Jamar Chase, he's and with T. Higgins out, of course, he's going to get a lot more targets because Jamar Chase is averaging a touchdown or more a game. That's insane. So defenses are really going to key in on Jamar Chase, leaving Tyler Boyd open. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah, and I think that Joe Burrow led offense is actually going to be pretty good this year. They've had some issues along the O-line, and I think that he might force the ball a little bit too much down the field, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for fantasy wide receivers. So I think Tyler Boyd can continue to improve in his touchdown production, which Jamar Chase has maybe stolen a bit of, but I think Tyler Boyd is a good start this week.
Yeah, the Bengal receiver group has been pretty well overall in the past few weeks of this season.
Yeah, and I think that's what we were expecting because they're 3 guys who can go out and produce, week in, week out, and I kind of almost trust all 3 of them when they're healthy.
I think, yeah. T. Higgins is very good. Jamar Chase has been balling, and Tyler Boyd is very solid. My start of the week is someone that I like a lot. Corey Davis on the Jets. Balled out week 1. Very iffy week 2 and week 3. Week 4, he has a golden opportunity to drop those golden points that he did in week 1. He plays against a tight end secondary that is currently giving up the 3rd most amount of points to wide receivers. And not only that, on the Jets, there's not a lot of competition to throw to. Michael Carter, we don't even know what the starting backfield is like in the Jets as of right now. And Elijah Moore has been slowly improving every week, but isn't up to what I expected him to.
And Elijah Moore was just diagnosed with a concussion, so even more, he might not be playing this Sunday, giving Corey Davis even more opportunity.
All the more reason to start him.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Targets is key in fantasy football.
And Jamison Crowder has been in and out with his hamstring injury this entire year. I could see Corey Davis going off for another couple red zone targets and a potential touchdown or 2 against the Titans
Especially
defense.
with that bad Titans defense.
Yeah. And I don't want to defend Zach Wilson necessarily because I'm not a big Jets fan here, but I think that his production hasn't been terrible. His offensive line has.
Yeah.
So I think we might see a little bit more dump offs, a little bit more quick slants, and screen plays to his receivers that can make plays, in the open field without the need for getting open before.
Exactly. That offensive line has been horrendous. Not as bad as the Dolphins, though.
I disagree. But talking about receivers who can make plays in the open field, my start of the week is Jaylen Waddle. Now, Jaylen Waddle had 13 targets against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, he combined his total target total from week 1 and week 2 in his third game, and by the trends, he would be getting 20 targets in week 4, which I'm not expecting by any, way, but I think that the 13 targets will end up transcending into more yards and touchdowns than we saw. And even then, he was a very solid option in week 3 against the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't really think, even though you have some players like Casey Hayward that have been playing out of their mind on that Raiders defense, they're still not that. I don't think they're fantastic of a defense. But the big question mark with any Dolphins receiver starting them this year, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, Waddle, and so on, Will Fuller, was the quarterback situation now with Tua out. But it looks like Jacoby Brissett can be as good as Tua in that system, if not even better, some fans might argue. But Waddle, as a Dolphins fan, is looking very promising, and I expect him to be better.
Yeah, and I think that he's going to continue to get more work down the field, which is crucial for him because he got 13 targets, 12 catches. That tends to mean that, he's getting under 10 yards, air yards per target, and he was averaging 5 yards per reception, which is honestly brutal. But I think that we'll see him continue to grow and maybe break a few tackles and take one all the way because it's only a matter of time before he gets a long touchdown that we've been expecting.
When we talked about Hunter Renfrow, we talked about sneaky slippery. Jaylen Waddle is just slippery. So I love Jaylen Waddle as a player.
Yeah, me too. I like that. He's playing a Colts defense, which is an average to below average defense. Other than that D-line, they lost a few guys like Malik Hooker at that safety spot to the Minnesota Vikings in free agency, which opens up some deep plays for some deep route running, which he has a speed threat. He's a very good route runner, and he just burns people down the sideline. So I think Jaylen Waddle can be a boom week this week as well.
Yeah, there are guys who are fast, and there are guys who are football fast like Jaylen Waddle. And he gets the ball in his hands, and I'm like, there's no way I'd be able to tackle that guy in an open field situation. And I don't know how NFL corners can either.
Well, you're not named Adrian Fraga, so you can't tackle him.
Of course not. And Jake, who are you fading in your fantasy lineups this week?
Yeah, speaking about the Colts with Jaylen Waddle, I'm talking about Michael Pittman Jr. He's my sit of the week. Even though he gets some targets, the Colts offense isn't completely healthy one. With Carson Wentz, both sprained ankles, and even some of the O-line has been getting hurt, like Quentin Nelson. Even though he's back, you never know how that's going to go because he might get injured again. And not only is the offense hurt, he's also playing a very good the Dolphins secondary with Xavier Howard, Byron Jones shadowing him throughout the game, which is going to be impossible to get targets on. So I think he's going to bust this week. Sorry.
Michael Pittman was a sleeper for me this year. Definitely someone that I was targeting late in all my drafts. And he's been showing why he's a sleeper. He's been putting up very solid flex level points. But I don't know if I really trust him this week. That's a tough matchup he has, especially with his quarterback situation. It's looking bad.
Yeah, I think Michael Pittman, I think we might actually see him get plenty of targets this week, but empty targets, guys. Throwaways and balls that are batted down, and I honestly don't think that he's going to amount to that much this week. So I think he's a decently safe sit.
Yeah. He's also been very inconsistent. He had 5 points week 1, around 10 points in week 2, and week 3 he had 20 points with his boom. But I don't think that's going to happen against this Dolphins defense.
That's fair to say. Now, while Michael Pittman is getting targets, someone who hasn't been getting targets in a very, very disappointing manner is Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson was a guy I considered a steal for his ADP. Overall third round draft pick, third or fourth. And I really thought he didn't have a lot of competition on the Bears offense, and both the Red Rifle and Justin Fields, whoever started, would be the best quarterback they had. But I never took into account how bad that offensive line would be and how much it would major into their quarterback's play. Allen Robinson, even though I said he hasn't been getting the targets, it's not like he's getting 2 targets a game. He's getting around 5 to 6 targets, which is very competent, very solid, but the problem is they're not very good throws. And Allen Robinson is, by all means, a very, very talented receiver. I'd honestly say borderline top 10. But with how iffy that O-line is playing and the quarterback's effect from the offensive line, I just can't trust him this year.
Yeah, they combined for a net 1 passing yard.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. When your offensive line play is below average and subpar, your quarterback play can't be that well either. No matter how many times you get open, you can't get down the field if your quarterback can't throw the ball away.
We even saw Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl struggling, to to even get a touchdown because his O-line couldn't hold up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front. So.
And it's not even like Allen Robinson's been playing tough defenses. In fact, one of his best matchups so far this year has been against the Rams, being shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. But even then, he's playing Detroit this week, which should lead to, oh yes, beautiful matchup. But Detroit is currently ranked 11th in least amount of points given up to receivers, which is actually very surprising, by the way. Yeah. But so Allen Robinson is just a no-go for me this week.
Yeah, and my sit of the week is actually to be Rob Gronkowski, and this is a guy who's been a staple for fantasy lineups for the past 10 years. So it's tough for me to sit a guy like this, but I think that his injury in last game, and he's expected to play, but I think that him traveling to New England in a scheme that knows him so well, Belichick could shut him down because he's so good at taking out the opponent's, red zone threat and making them go in a different avenue.
I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick just completely shuts off Brady completely. Brady's a very good quarterback, but that Patriots defense is good.
Oh, I disagree so much. I think Brady in his return to New England's gonna have a successful return and beat the Patriots, but I wouldn't be surprised if his favorite weapon is kind of deemed inefficient.
Not saying the Buccaneers lose, I'm just saying not up to their standards.
Well, I don't really agree with that take, Fredo, but it's controversial. I think Gronk's gonna spike a few touchdowns, and Gronk spiked a few touchdowns from Belichick, maybe one. He's gonna get a ton of targets from Brady, even though he got hurt. I think he'll still play a lot, and I think it's a revenge game for Gronk right here.
And I think even more for the Bucs as a whole. You saw Brady after that loss to the Rams sitting on the sideline with his head in his hands, and that is a sight that defensive coordinators do not want to see because Tom Brady might tear up the Patriots this week. But we'll see, because I think that's going to be an eventful return where he's going to become the NFL's all-time leading passer, passing some guy named Drew Brees, who is not nearly as talented as he is.
Some guy, Drew Brees. Some guy.
But, all right, do you guys have any additional thoughts going into Week 4?
Hope I stay undefeated in our broadcasting league, so hoping that for sure.
Yeah, and we're hoping for another Dolphins win to try to even up our records.
Hoping for an eventful Thursday night football game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and
Cincinnati Bengals. It might be a rough one.
Just hoping for some good football this week in general.
Amen.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, and remember to join us next week on the Waiver Wire.